Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Fight Night Rewind here on Keep It Real Boxing. You're listening to Cypherbox, and let's get into it. So Saturday night we saw, obviously on Sky Sports, we saw Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall for the £140 undisputed championship of the world. Okay, there was quite a bit of controversy around that one. Listen, look, I didn't get to watch that fight live. I was a bit busy on Saturday night. So I've only just caught up with it today. I saw the fight on YouTube. Sky Sports had put it up. And first of all, I kind of want to say is I feel for Jack Catterall. I really do, yeah? Everyone was calling robbery. I have to agree. Right from the bat, I'm going to say that to you guys. So if you're on here because you're backing Josh Taylor or you're a Josh Taylor fanboy or whatever it is, you know, first of all, I want to put that out there. I felt Catterall won the fight and I felt he won it clearly. Yeah? On the screen, you can see my scorecard. That's how I scored it. I scored it 116 to 109 in favour of Catterall. Yeah? I didn't give Josh a lot of rounds. Let's be real, yeah? I gave Josh round 3. I gave him round 9 and 10. Every other round, in my opinion, was Jack Catterall. Yeah, and I'm going to go through and give you my views on round by round what I was seeing. It's not going to be long-winded or anything like that. Just quickly who I felt was scoring the better punches, ring generalship, all that sort of stuff. Before I get into it, look, listen. Let's talk about the how you score a fight, yeah, or a round of boxing. Okay, so the first thing you're looking for are clean, hard landing, scoring punches. Okay, on the upper torso, shoulders, arms, elbows, wrists, gloves, back of the head do not count. Yeah, the back of the body does not count. Okay, has to be in that front facing torso and the front part of your head and the sides. Yeah, okay. Effective aggression. A lot of people score aggression for the sake of aggression. You do not score aggression just on its own. It has to be effective. So what do I mean by effective aggression? Effective aggression is using your aggression to open up your opponent's defenses to land clean, scoring, hard punches. Yeah? Good example of that, if you go, look, I'm going to use Floyd Mayweather here, right? Floyd Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya, right? And you can go see, yeah, because sometimes the camera was shooting from the actual ropes when Floyd had his back on the ropes. And Oscar was throwing all these punches, left, right, body, up, whatever, jabs, straight rights. Floyd was obviously in his Philly shell, turning, switching from each side, blocking the punches. None of Oscar De La Hoya's punches in certain rounds, yeah, none of Oscar De La Hoya's punches landed. That means you do not score for Oscar De La Hoya in that situation. You score for Floyd Mayweather because Floyd Mayweather, his defense trumped Oscar De La Hoya's aggression. Floyd Mayweather's defense in that situation made Oscar De La Hoya's aggression ineffective. Do you understand? Right, so let's get that out there straight away. Ring generalship. That's another thing you do. Who's making who do what? Who's controlling the pace of the fight? Who's making their opponent do what they want them to do? Like falling into traps, etc. Positioning your opponent to set them up for traps. You know, controlling the range, the distance, the pace of the fight, etc. Yeah? And the last one, defense. Again, I just gave you a beautiful example of that. When Floyd Mayweather's up on the ropes and he's arguably the best defensive boxer of all time. Some may say Willie Pep, some might say Pernell Whitaker. But I'm going to use Floyd in this example, yeah? Okay? I just gave you a good example of it, like I said. Right? When he's up on the ropes and he's got his hands up and he's in that Philly shell and you're punching away at him and he's just turning side to side and he's blocking those punches, yeah, he's making your aggression ineffective. Therefore, you score for Floyd in that situation. You wouldn't score for Oscar. Do you understand? If Oscar De La Hoya, you know, was landing clean punches into the scoring area, the scoring zone of Floyd Mayweather's body, then you would score for Oscar De La Hoya. Do you understand? I'm just using Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather as an example. There's plenty of examples like this in boxing. I feel that was probably the easiest one to show because you can go and watch that fight and see it clearly what I'm talking about. Okay, but those are that's how you score around a boxing. Yeah, clean, hard scoring punches in the scoring zones. Yeah, effective aggression, I repeat, ring generalship and defense, right? So where I saw a tweet from Carl Froch, all right, where he's saying, well, you know, when you weren't doing anything, when you weren't being the aggressor, or you weren't doing anything in the last 3 rounds, then yeah, then the judges don't like that, and they'll give the round to the champion in that situation. Nonsense. That's not how you score around a boxing, and if that's how boxing is scoring around a boxing. If that's how the judges are scoring it, and if that's how Carl Froch is scoring it, they are scoring the rounds wrong, and that was clear to see with the result we saw on Saturday night. I'm just going to throw one more thing in because I just forgot it. Is obviously if the punches are landing on the hand, the wrist, the forearms, the upper arm, the shoulders, they don't count. The reason they don't count because you use those parts of your body to block punches. Yeah, so let's just get that correct, because I know there's a lot of casual boxing fans out there who really don't know how to score around a boxing. They think they do. Okay. Round 1 I gave to Catterall. I felt he established his jab really well. Felt it was a cagey round. They were feeling each other out a little bit. Josh, clearly, you know, his rhythm wasn't there from round 1. To be fair, I didn't think his rhythm was there at all throughout the fight. Wasn't much going on in that round, in my opinion. I felt they were just feeling each other out. I just felt Catterall landed the better, cleaner punches, already established a bit of distance, a bit of range, and was popping that jab off nicely. So I gave that round to Catterall. You know, that was an easy one, to be honest with you. Round 2, again, I gave it to Catterall. I just felt like his jab, his ring generalship, defense as well, where he made Josh Taylor miss punches. I felt Josh came on in the last minute of that round, and I started applying the pressure. You know, I landed a few punches, but I don't think he didn't do anything near enough for me to give that round to him. And I think even in those situations, that last minute of the round where he was throwing those punches, a lot of those punches were, you know, partially blocked or they were missing, etc. So, you know, I personally felt, you know, Catterall did enough to win that round. Round 3 I gave to Josh Taylor. I thought that was a close round. Don't get me wrong. I thought that was a close round. Even, to be fair, the second round I thought was pretty close as well in some area, in terms of activity. But the third round I thought was a lot closer. I felt this was probably more of a swing round. But I felt like Taylor just did enough. He landed just a little bit more than Catterall did in this fight. I felt he imposed himself more on Catterall. And I felt Catterall was a little bit less active in that round. I felt Josh just edged it on that basis. Round 4, I felt Catterall just threw the cleaner punches. Better defense, you know, he was slicker with his defense. You know, Josh was finding it hard to find a rhythm. You know, he still hadn't found his rhythm. He's still a little bit cagey himself. Where I felt Jack had settled into the fight now. He worked out his distance, his range. He was landing the cleaner punches, and when the punches and the aggression was coming in from Josh Taylor, I felt he dealt with it really well. Slick, moving out the way the punches, making him miss, that kind of thing. So I felt round 4 definitely was a Catterall round. Round 5 definitely for me belonged again to Catterall. You know, I felt, you know, the punches again were cleaner, harder. They were coming from, you could see them clearly landing. Yeah, right. The ring generalship as well. His movement, the way he was keeping his distance, keeping his range, I felt like making Josh Taylor second guess himself, because Josh didn't really look like he knew where the punches were going to come from. So, you know, he controlled the pace. He brought it down to where he wanted it to be, the pace, the range, the distance, and landed when he wanted to land. So again, that was another round for Jack Catterall. Round 6, obviously, Josh started to show more aggression. However, Catterall's defense, you know, it made his aggression ineffective. You know, through his movement, his slick skills, ducking down, holding, and yeah, there was a bit of holding as well. But that's part of tactics. We've seen Floyd Mayweather do that. I mean, many other fighters do that. You know. And I felt like, you know, he landed the cleaner punches when punches were being thrown on from both guys. I felt the cleaner punches, the cleaner work was again coming from Jack Catterall. And I felt that carried on into the 7th round, to be honest with you. I felt that carried on to the 7th round. Again, defense, managing that distance, managing that range, ring generalship, which I've already talked about at the beginning of this video. Okay, cleaner punches, yeah, you know, the jab. You know, that jab was popping off all night long, yeah, and I feel that jab really messed up Josh's rhythm, and he just couldn't get a real clear his own rhythm going, and to be able to, you know, put forward a strong offense, if that makes sense. Round 8, obviously that was a knockdown round, so naturally that went to Jack Catterall. So round 7 went to Jack Catterall. Round 8, sorry, that went to Jack Catterall with the knockdown, so that was a 10-8 round. By that point, my scorecard was 79-72 to Catterall, and that was with the knockdown. Even Ben Davison, after that round, in between rounds 8 and 9, when Josh Taylor went back, yeah, he sat down in the corner, and at the end of that little pep talk he was giving and the instructions he was giving to Josh Taylor, he literally said to him, look, you're losing this fight. You're behind on the cards, is exactly what he said. You're behind. So even at that point, they knew they were behind on the scorecards. Round 9 was a bit of a swing round for me, but still I felt, you know, listen, I felt Josh just did enough in that fight, in that round. Yeah, I felt he landed the cleaner punches, the harder punches were for Josh. You know, it wasn't Catterall wasn't throwing. I just felt Josh's work, the punches he was throwing were the harder punches. And I gave that round to him based on that. But yeah, look, it was still like one of those swing type rounds. But in my opinion, I felt like Josh, I felt, you know, in that round, Catterall definitely eased off a little bit, in my opinion. That's the way I felt. Round 10, I gave it again to Josh Taylor, you know, and there was a point deduction, so that was 10-8. Listen, I think, you know, that was a scrappier round. You know, it was a very hard round to score because it was so scrappy. Felt Josh, you know, just kind of edged it with a few cleaner punches, in my opinion. You know, it was really hard to split him in that round. I thought that was a really close round, a scrappy round. It was hard to score. I just felt like Josh Taylor might have just edged it, just with a few cleaner shots, harder shots than Jack Catterall. Round 11, it went back to Catterall. You know, I just felt he turned it back on, slicker defense, you know, making Josh miss, getting under the punches, making him miss, ducking, diving, getting out of the way, managing the range again, you know, and the distance again. You know, there was a point deduction in that as well for Josh Taylor. And that point deduction was obviously after the round had finished, he kind of like punched Catterall in the gut. And the referee caught it and pulled him back, said, right, that's a point gone for you. So, you know, it didn't help himself in that situation. You know, made his night even worse, in my opinion. But yeah, I felt like, you know, Catterall definitely won that round. But then with the point deduction, that just helped Catterall, you know, on the scorecards even more, in my opinion. On my scorecard, he did anyway. It helped him a lot. Round 12. Okay, so look, by this time, Josh Taylor needed a KO. And I think he knew it. He came out with that purpose. You could see it. He was looking for it. But Catterall, you know, he mitigated all of that. He, you know, moved around the ring, controlled the distance. He, in my opinion, landed the cleaner punches anyway in that round, you know, but he wasn't going like mad. He was being smart. He was being economical. You know, he knew he had it in the bag. He just needed to finish it off. And, you know, but Josh didn't really do anything in that round, in my opinion. You know, he followed him around. He tried to be aggressive with him, tried to land punches, but, you know, Catterall was mitigating all of that stuff, you know, through his defense, through his managing the distance, through, you know, his slick defense, and then coming back and landing some shots of his own. So yeah, clearly for me, he won that last round, and that was it. Overall, in my opinion, Catterall, he established a jab from round 1 right through to round 12, in my opinion. Used it really well, used it to gauge the range and maintain the distance. Used it, great ring generalship from him, in my opinion. You know, he landed the cleaner punches. His defense was slicker. And I just talked about ring generalship. He controlled the pace of the fight. He controlled Josh Taylor. You know, Josh, when he kept trying to come in and, you know, like he does, and make it messy and make it a fight on the inside, Catterall would just hold or make certain maneuvers. There was even one round, I can't remember which one it was, he was trapped in the corner. Josh threw a hard left, and Catterall just moved out the way and moved out of the corner. And it was a really nice bit of slick boxing from Catterall. That was a really good example. I can't remember what round it was. One of the latter rounds. I think it was 11. I can't remember. But it was really nice the way he did it, you know. And he was doing that kind of stuff all night long. So I just felt like he controlled the pace of the fight. He landed the cleaner punches. Defense was stronger. You know, his aggression was effective. He managed, like I said, he managed the range and the distance perfectly, in my opinion, all night long. You know, yeah, you know, Josh had his moments of success, but like they were few and far between, in my opinion. Josh's timing was off. His defense was poor. You know, he took a lot of shots. He looked off his rhythm all night, you know, due to Catterall's jab and the way he managed the range and distance. and clinching on the inside, it was that clinching on the inside that Catterall was doing was not allowing Josh to do what he normally does, what you've seen in previous fights, which is just making an inside fight and really get rough and tough with his opponent. Josh wasn't able to bully Catterall. Yeah, the bully got bullied on Saturday night, in my opinion. And whenever that happens, you've seen examples of that. A lot of people will probably disagree with me on this one. I go back to, Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev 1, even the second fight between those two guys, the bully got bullied. That's Josh's style. He'll come on the inside, he'll turn it on, he'll start bullying you, he'll start imposing his physicality on you. And Jack Catterall was just not going to allow him to do that. He didn't allow him to do it all night. So, I think it was a great fight, great performance from Catterall. Just a shame that the result did not go his way. So, a lot of people had their points of view. A lot of people, apart from certain individuals, I think, Carl Froch was another one who, I don't take his opinion into account because I don't think he could score around a boxing personally. And yeah, a lot of you might say, well, he was a boxer. And yeah, I'm telling you now, most of these old boxers or even current boxers and these pundits and these analysts who've been doing it for so many years and still not score around a boxing. I'm telling you. Yeah, just go away and study how to score around a boxing and you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. O'Hara Davis, I saw an interview a while back with him and Jack Catterall on IFL, and obviously he has his issues with Jack Catterall, so he was kind of like, well, who are we to judge the judges? That's what they're there for, and well done to Josh Taylor and blah blah. I felt he was just rubbing it in Catterall's face, to be honest with you. But everyone else out there, pretty much that I've heard, feels like this was a clear outright robbery. And I have to agree, it was a robbery. It wasn't a close fight. You saw my scorecard. I think a lot of people had it wide for Catterall in terms of the win. But here's something is sort of got a little political at one point. Here you go, here the Speaker of the House, and if you're from another country, the Speaker of the House of Commons. This is the person who sits up in the chair and he mediates between the parties as they debate each other in the Houses of Parliament. And this is what he had to say. The Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, has branded the Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall a disgrace decision and a travesty of justice. He is also MP for Chorley, where Catterall is from, and said he intends to speak to the sports minister about this. All right, a little bit of bias maybe there, considering they're from the same area and he's the MP of wherever Jack Catterall lives. I don't really see how this is going to change the decision in any shape, way, or form, right? All right. I don't see the British Boxing Board control, even though they've said they're going to get involved and review the situation. I don't think they're going to change or overturn the decision that was made on the night. Okay. And this is why one of the reasons why I think that's the case. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like that I'm bringing this up, right? Okay. But look at this, right? This happened in 2019. Josh Taylor pleads guilty to racist and homophobic abuse of nightclub doorman. Now, he was charged for this. I don't think he got a criminal record for it, but he was charged. He had to pay a fine. He apologized to the doorman for his racial abuse of that doorman and homophobic comments. Here's my take, right? If he had not got caught for doing this and he went home that night, would he be sorry? Probably not, yeah? Okay, but here's my take on this. The British Boxing Board of Control would have been aware of this situation, right? They have a code of ethics. They have a code of conduct, okay? Every organisation does. This would probably, definitely, in my opinion, go against that code of ethics or code of conduct. What action did they take on Josh Taylor and his racist abuse and homophobic abuse of a nightclub doorman? Absolutely nothing. This literally went under the carpet, under the radar, and swept under the carpet. So I would, if they do something, if they overturn the decision or something like that, or take some sort of action like that, that's going to annoy me, yeah? Being a member of the ethnic community, that's going to annoy me. That this guy's got away with this, but he won't get away with that, yeah? At the same time, I don't believe they will anyway. I don't think they'll do anything about it. They'll look into it and they say, we'll accept our judge's decision. We believe they made the correct decisions based on what they saw that night, etc. They used the categories to score the rounds of boxing correctly. They were able to articulate what they did. We've seen it all before. Nothing's going to happen. This is going to go. This is like Dillian White's failed drug test against Oscar Rivas. You know, big hoo-ha, and then they quieted it all down and they just swept it under the carpet. Yeah, you know, I don't think anything's going to happen. So they can push as much as they want, but I think this is the end of it. And to be fair, at the same time, you know, Josh Taylor's moving up to welterweight. What are you going to do? Tell him yes, go back down to 140 pounds to defend his titles again against Jack Catterall in a rematch? You know, you're going to punish him for it. It's not his decisions that robbed Catterall on the night. It was the judge's decision. So if anything, what you want to do is just say 1, 2, 3. You're suspended from scoring fights from now on because you clearly can't do it. But they're not going to hurt financially from it or any. Do you know what I mean? It just, you know, nothing. You know how boxing works. You know, it's shocking. Yeah, I've seen decisions like this before. You know, I think British boxing, this happens a lot. We know that. We're well known for it. Yeah, we're well known for it worldwide for being like for these kinds of decisions. You know, we saw it. Ricky Burns versus Ray Beltran. Obviously, the next fight, Ricky Burns fought Terence Crawford and got beat. They couldn't rob Terence Crawford in that situation. But yeah, they robbed Ray Beltran. Ricky Burns was a world champion, got beat fair and square, and it ended up being a draw. That's what they scored it as. You know, and I feel like sometimes Scotland's scoring is a lot worse than in England. But they both are bad. But you know, I think Scotland sometimes when it's at their own Scottish fighter, my God, sometimes you know what, they cook those freaking scorecards. I'm telling you. And you sit there thinking, like, what fight were you watching? How did you score that to that fighter? Do you get what I mean? And I don't think anything's going to happen personally, in my opinion. You know, you can search this article out, you know, if you want to read into it a little bit more. But again, this one just, you know, quietened it out and swept it under the carpet. And this whole thing that's happened this weekend, I think it'll be the similar thing. I don't think it's going to be anything serious. They might take little measures just to make it look like, hey, go, we've done something about it. But I don't think it's going to be anything severe, if that makes sense, personally. Here we go. Here's the British Boxing Board of Control. Robert Smith has declared that they will be looking into the Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall scoring and have asked for reports from the judges, which they'll study this week. Smith has insisted that allegations of corruption are nonsense. So, look, listen, there might be corruption. We know boxing. All of us know boxing well enough. It is a corrupt sport, you know, even though, you know, back in the day, the mafia used to run the boxing, you know, but now they don't, obviously. But, you know, we still know it goes on. Come on, let's be real. Frank Warren's reaction. Frank Warren has stated that he does not want British referees or judges for Tyson Fury versus Dillian White after seeing Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall result on Saturday night. He said the situation is killing the credibility of boxing. Okay, so naturally, why would you want to? You know, that's a big fight for Tyson Fury. It's a big fight for Dillian White too. And you know, the last thing you want is people walking away thinking disheartened at what they saw in the ring. You know, and like on Saturday night, it was clear to see Jack Catterall won the fight. So I get where he's coming from with that. Jack Catterall's reaction. You know what hurts the most? It wasn't for me. I've done all of this for my family, my team, my town, my country. My baby girl, my missus, our future. Today I should have been waking up with all the belts, 15 months out of the ring. They all wrote me off, effed me in every way possible for over 2 years. Finally got the fight, sacrificed everything to fight. One of the top pound for pound ranked fighters, gave him a lesson. For what? Boxing, shame on you. Dreams stolen. And I agree, you know, if it was a close fight, for example, yeah, Triple G versus Canelo 1 and 2, which could have gone either way, in my opinion. Yeah, all right, a round or two might have separated them. Yeah, okay, that's not a robbery. That's a close fight that could have gone either way, and you're just upset because it went the way you didn't want it to go, and then you start shouting robbery. What you saw on Saturday night, that was a clear robbery. Yeah, And when you've worked that hard, you never know. He might be so demoralized now that when he gets into the ring for his next fight, yeah, he may not be the same person again, the same fighter again. The motivation, the drive, and the hunger might not be there because he's been screwed over. You know, and people will then say, oh, he had one good fight against Josh Taylor and now look at him. That might not be the case. It might be the case that inside he's feeling like, well, you know, the biggest moment of my career, you know, for the undisputed championship of the world, and it was stolen from me. You know, and not only that, that's hit him financially in the pocket too for future fights with other 140 pounders out there, and to go on and kind of emulate whatever Josh has already done. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, and that can be demoralizing when you go into the next fight. You know, fighters aren't robots; they have emotions too. When they're going there, like, you know, not with that same mentality, that same hunger, that same drive, because they're like, yeah, I want to fight. I've got to make money for my family now, and they're not performing the way they used to perform. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that could affect him mentally that way. Or, you know, let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope it makes him more determined. But it could affect him that way. All right. And I totally agree. You just screwed him over. But then boxing fans will get on his case saying, oh, he had one decent fight in him and look at him now. Go deeper in it. Go into the psyche of a fighter. What happens to you when you get derailed? You know, and most people out there, let's be honest, most people out there give up. Right? It's the easiest thing to do. I got screwed over and then come out with the blames and stuff. And I get what you're saying, but I can get where he's coming from to a degree. I understand it. So, you know, will he be motivated to want to fight again? Or if he does fight, is it just for the paycheck? You know, like, you know, we don't know what's going to happen to him going forward. You know, what's going to motivate him from here on out? That's what I'm saying. It could be, it's a shame, you know, someone works that hard and they're not going to get, and it was that obvious that he'd won the fight, you know, and I totally agree with his comments here. So this is what Josh Taylor said. Now remember, right, Josh Taylor said he won the fight right after the fight was over, etc. And a lot of people were giving him criticism. Remember, his mind was fresh from the adrenaline's pumping, the testosterone's running wild. You know, so asking a fighter when his mind's probably not clear after going after a hard 12 round to say, hey, did you win that fight? Of course he's going to say yeah. You know, you have to give him a few days, yeah? And I agree, you have to give him a few days to go and watch the fight, etc., etc. But guess what? Even after a few days and he watched the fight again, now you can turn around and say, like, you're not being realistic with yourself, right? So this is what he said on social media, right? I have taken a few days for some well-earned time with my family after not seeing them for a few months. I've had a chance to watch the fight back. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Jack Catterall on a great fight. He rose to the occasion and fought a valiant fight. However, I believe I won a very close fight. Many fans believe Jack deserved the decision, and that's fine. We both went in there and fought our guts out for 12 rounds. But the personal attacks on myself and especially my family are disgusting and uncalled for. Don't get me wrong, yeah? I think Josh is a great boxer, like a talented boxer, quality boxer, no doubt about it. He's achieved great things at 140 pounds, yeah? No doubt about it, in my opinion, guys. On a personal note, do I like Josh Taylor? Probably not, because of his previous racist remarks. And I don't think he's actually very sorry for that. In my opinion, I think he's sorry because he got caught. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm not one of these people who goes on his social media sites and starts, calling him names and saying things about him, etc. and stuff like that. That's not going to get us anywhere, is it? Let's be honest. Yeah, if he was charged for it, he had to pay a fine. Disappointed the British Boxing got board control, didn't do anything about it. But hey, look, that's out of my hands. Yeah, all I can do is talk about it and highlight it to you guys. But I'm not going to go on his social media sites and start, attacking him, his family, and stuff like that. And you get that in boxing, though. You don't just get that in boxing. You just get that in social media world. That's the world we live in. People behind keyboards, calling names and doing all sorts of stuff. And yeah, that's probably sending him death threats and God knows what else, maybe comments about his girlfriend and stuff like that. It's unnecessary, Voice your opinions that you felt you could go, if you're going to go if you are going to go on his social media pages, at least say, look, mate, you lost. Simple as that. I don't agree. I felt, it was a poor decision. You should give him a rematch. But you don't have to go any further than that. That's just my personal opinion. He goes on to say, my days at 140 are numbered. My future is at welterweight. Jack Catterall deserves another title shot as soon as possible. I've never ducked a challenge in my career, and I'd be happy to fight Jack again. But it would have to be at welterweight. Jack is a great sportsman, a hell of a fighter, and deserves every bit of admiration he is receiving. I want to thank my family, my team, the fans who packed the OVO Hydro, and everyone who watched on Sky Sports, ESPN Plus, and around the world. Fighting as an undisputed champion on Scottish soil was a dream come true, but I'm only getting started. I'll be back and better than ever, this time ready to conquer the welterweight division. So he clearly felt he won the fight. In the background, and you'll see on the screen, sorry, not in the background, but on the screen you'll see some of the reactions to the fight. But listen, like, either he's deluded, or he just doesn't want to admit, or he feels he's going to hurt his future fights and paydays or whatever, or the trash talking that he likes to do when he goes up the lights against the likes of a Terence Crawford or someone like that. I don't know what it is, but maybe he just doesn't want to admit he's lost. I don't know which one it is, but either way, he's completely wrong. He lost that fight, and end of the day, I know I always say everyone's entitled to opinion, but this one was clear cut in my opinion. I think it was in most people's opinion. He's thinking about moving up to welterweight now. He's talking about Terence Crawford. Listen, I don't know if that fight can be made, because obviously Terence Crawford is currently suing Bob Arum and Top Rank for racism and all that sort of stuff. If it does get made, what are his chances, in my opinion? I personally think Terence Crawford will wipe the floor with him, and I will be extremely shocked if I see anything but that. I'm not lying. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., in my opinion, are on other levels. Even likes of Keith Thurman, who hasn't, probably is Keith the best. Is Keith what he was a few years ago? Who knows? He put in a pretty good performance against Mario Barrios after such a long layoff. We'll have to see what happens when Keith Thurman going forward. Sean Porter's obviously out of the picture. There's Jaron Ennis. There's other names at welterweight as well, but the top names are Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. And Ugas, he's another one. How can I forget your Dennis Ugas? And I don't know if Josh beats those guys. Terence Crawford has got so much in his arsenal. He's a switch hitter. He could turn it into a street fight and a brawl and knock you out, or he can outbox you 12 rounds like he did against Victor Paulstall. Spence is the same. I don't know whether he's on their level. Just in my opinion, my personal opinion, I think Terence Crawford will beat him and wipe the floor with him. That's just my personal opinion. And Josh is a really good fighter. At 140, I don't know whether that's going to carry into the welterweight division. Who knows? I could be wrong. I just think Terence Crawford is a step too far from him. I think, especially what I saw on Saturday night. And here's the other thing, he's making a lot of excuses in terms of the weight. I don't accept those excuses. You know why I don't accept those excuses? Because if the weight was the issue, you should have dropped the belt and just move up. Don't take the fight then. Don't take the fight against Jack Catterall and say, I'm a man of my word and I don't duck anyone and I'm going to fight this guy. Okay. And then after the fight, when when you thought it was a close fight and you just won it, when in actual fact you lost it, you're turning around and saying, well, the weight, it was the weight, mate. The weight, I can't do the weight no more. All right, well then drop the belts, man. If you signed the contract for that weight and you've agreed to fight at that weight, I don't want to hear no excuses about weight. Yeah, because if you can't fight at that weight anymore, then simple as that, you're gonna have to break your word, drop the belts, move up. Yeah. Is he naturally probably more of a 147, maybe 154 pounder? Maybe. There's a lot of that going on boxing as well, where guys aren't fighting, closer to their natural weights as well. Let's be honest. So, where you're being a weight bully in a sense. So look, we'll wait and see how it works out for Josh Taylor. I personally think he's not going to have the same success at welterweight as he did at 140. That's just my opinion. Anyway, I don't think I've got anything else to say to you guys on this one. As always, guys, like, share and subscribe. And until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you So keep it real.